Hello and welcome to PowerBench. Today I'm going to be testing this Power Geek awesome 2200 mAh power bank. It came from Poundland. It was £2. Yeah, £2. And those of you familiar with Big Clive will know that he's done a test of these recently. But I thought I'd get one and give it a try as well, because copying Big Clive is always fun. So it's from Poundland, so it's a UK retail product. So it should at least be of a reasonably tolerable quality. So inside there's a box, nothing in there. Standard plastic tray, power bank, cable. So the power bank itself, it's properly in focus. Yeah, that's better. So it's got the usual markings on it. Genuine looking CE mark, 2200 mAh, 5V 1A input, 5V 1A output. Don't throw it away and recycle it, pretty standard. It's appears to be the same as the one Big Clive reviewed, which is good. So there is no power indicator, battery indicator on this at all. Let's see what the meter makes of it. Oh, it's lit up. There's a blue indicator, and it's currently saying, what's it advertising? 1.5 amp. That's basically sort of the default for a charging port. It claims it'll do 1 amp out. 5.1 volts, that's alright. Let's see what it's like under load. So using a normal little USB load. Half an amp. Voltage still looks good. Approaching an amp. We go 1 amp, still over 5 volts, so that's good. Oh, not yet. Oh, there we go. So it cuts off a little bit over 1 amp. So it's about 1.2, I think. That's a bit quick for it. I do wish the display on this updated a bit more quickly. Right, 1.1 amps, it's dropped to 4.9 volts. So 4.5 volts as we approach 1.2 amps. Yeah, so 1.2 amps. So it's a little bit misleading that it claims to do 1.5 volts electrically, but yeah, fine. Most devices should be fine with that. So my still left the light on. I don't know what the hold on current for this is. I will check that. Right. So what else? The cable. Before we do anything else. It's quite a nice feeling cable actually. It's quite flexible. Sometimes they're a bit stiff and horrible. This one's actually quite nice. Very limited strain relief though. This is pretty much the standard with these freebie cables. They're not great for that. A little bit of flashing, but nothing too bad. Got a USB logo on the plug, so you know which way up it goes. It's not. How long is it? It's not the worst feeling cable I've ever. It's 30 centimeters, literally tip of plug to tip of plug. So that's fine. How big is the power bank? While I got the ruler out. So 90 centimeters long. I really need to get some calipers. Sorry, 9 centimeters long, 90 millimeters long, 30 millimeters wide, and is that about 22 high? What does it weigh? 63.3 grams. So, it's fine. So let's do the cable test, and then we'll get it charged up. So adjust the view slightly. So there's a bench power supply. Do the standard trick. So we'll set this to 2.1 amps. Just get the focus right on that, so it looks a bit better. .1 amps, 5 volts. All right. So 2.1 amps, it's dropping 0.4 of a volt, so 8%, which is not brilliant, but it's not for a freebie cable, it's kind of standard. For 1 amp, which is the rated capacity of the power bank, it's dropping 0.13 volts. Yeah, which is pretty good. Well, no, it's not pretty good. It's pretty rubbish, but it's average. So, is it 0.4 divided by 5 times by 100? For the sake of completeness, is indeed 8%. 0.13 divided by 5 times by 100, 2.6%. So at 1 amp, it's fine. Nothing. It's a perfectly adequate cable for this power bank. I wouldn't use it for any more serious things, but for a freebie cable, it's basically adequate. So that's fine. So now I'm going to charge this up, or I'm going to have to play with it and see if I can work out what the hold-on current is. And then I'll get this charged up. I'll measure the input capacity, and that should give us some idea of how much charge it's got in it, because there's absolutely no clue from the outside. And then we'll do the discharge test. Back in a bit. So the power bank is now fully charged. I charged it. It's now the following day, so hence why everything's turned off. With regard to the amount of power it took while it was charging, 1,568 milliamp hours. That would be at 5 volts. So I mean, it's hard to tell how efficient the conversion process is. If it's a straight regulator, then it'll be wasting, you know, a fifth, 2/5 of the input power as heat. So I guess this was somewhere in the region of about half full, but speculation, I can't say for sure. What's really interesting is while I was doing the standby test, is that this is outputting 5 volts all the time, which I've seen before on some of the smaller power supplies. And there is well, let me show you. So when it's plugged in, there's a red charging light comes on and flashes. This does draw an amp as it's charging, so you can tell when it's charging and when it's charged. And normally when you connect a load, so let's use this one, let's turn that down a bit, but give it some. When you connect a load to this power supply, there's a blue indicator light comes on. There you go. So it's just come on. So that's 200 milliamps. So now if we remove the load, the blue light goes out, but the power keeps flowing, and it seems that there's absolutely no hold-on current for this. It continues to deliver 5 volts pretty much continuously. I'm going to use the tiny load. Let's get that turned right down. This is the one I normally use for testing the. So this meter draws about 15 milliamps. So I guess in total we're drawing about 20 milliamps here. And you can see the blue light comes on. It's drawing enough now that it's noticed and woken up. But if I then unplug that, again the light goes out, power stays on. So that's really interesting. This one does continue to supply power for very low drain devices. They do a bigger one of these. It's 4,000 milliamp hours, allegedly. I guess we'll find out that in a minute. But if you're looking for something to charge something that's very low drain, these are actually pretty good. So that's worth bearing in mind. The other thing I wanted to test, which I haven't done yet, is pass-through power. I don't know what the status of that is because I haven't tried it, and there's not a lot of room, so I'm going to use 2 cables. I can get 2 cables in. Oh, it's tight. Yeah, just about. So again, I'm just going to power up a meter. Nope. Nothing. And then yeah, it comes on. So no pass-through power. Not a huge surprise, but good to know. Just make sure this is topped back up. Yeah, so standby current is any. It continues to supply power all the time. The standby current draw on these, I've measured the older, nastier ones, is in the order of microamps. So even though it's keeping things powered up all the time and it's not doing any detection of the a plugged-in load or not, the draw as it stands by is tiny. I don't know if this is the same. I think these are openable, so I might measure that and have a look, but I don't expect it to dramatically alter the standby time. It's still going to be months, I suspect. Certainly weeks. What else is there? Just the standby, just the capacity test, I think. So I'm just going to, it's drawing, so I've been playing around with it, and it's drawing a little bit of current at the moment, and the red light is flashing. So I'm going to leave this charging again for a few minutes, and then do the capacity test shortly. Okay, a few minutes later, it's drawing 0 amps, and the red light is constantly on now. So, it's discharge test time. I'm going to do this the standard way. Let's reset the count on the meter. There we go. Let's adjust the view. So, make sure those are turned down. Need to get some rubber feet for this stand, maybe. Right, let's turn down. Prop this up on my little stand so you can see it properly. Right, so 5 volts on the oscilloscope. Let's turn the load up. We'll do this test at 1 amp, which is what the power supply claims to be able to deliver. One amp. So it's still outputting a nice steady 5 volts at the moment. The oscilloscope is showing a nice steady 1 amp, as is the meter. Okay, that's good. I'm going to put this into time-lapse mode then, and we'll see when it's done. Well, it's just powered off a bit more quickly than I'd anticipated. The voltage was also starting to drop. It was down to 4.5 volts last time I looked, which is not ideal. Let's have a look. So remove the load and it's come back. So yeah, it's done 850 milliamp hours at 5 volts. Well, let's have a look at the... Let's assume that it's 2200 milliamp hours times by 3.7 volts of the cell. So it should be 8.1 watt hours, or 8100 watt hours at best. I mean, that's 100% efficiency. And at 4100 watt hours, that's about half, which is not good enough. That would mean 50% efficiency, but the fact that it's lit up again suggests that it can't actually cope with doing 1 amp all the way through the discharge. The fact that voltage was also dropping off suggests the same. And I suspect if we back this off to say half an amp, sorry, insufficient control of limbs. So if we make this half an amp, let's say, oh no, that's too much, there we go. And this load turns itself down at half an amp. Oh, there we go. Close enough. So, half an amp it's continuing to supply power, and we're back up at 5 volts. So, again, I'll leave this to run, but not a resounding success. Well, that's it. It's cut off second round of the run at only half an amp. So it'll be interesting to see how this compares. So what have we got? 6,127 milliwatt hours of 8,100, I think, was the total. What was it? 2,200 times by 3.7. Yeah, 8140. So what have we got? 6127 divided by 8140 times by 100. Gives us 75%, which is pretty mediocre, bearing in mind that it couldn't deliver the full amp that it claims that it can, that was, half the capacity. So half the capacity at 1 amp, it is 75% if you turn the power down, or the phone reduces the power. But if you've got a device that insists on drawing an amp and won't scale that back, it's not going to be a great result. It did seem to cut the power off cleanly. That's probably the only blessing. It's still not a great result. I don't know if it's properly dead at this point. Yeah, it's not lighting up a meter anymore. So there we have it. Pretty disappointing, but it was only £2. And if you want something that will do a very low current, where it doesn't turn the output off, actually not too bad. So if you do want something to operate at a few milliamps, where this capacity would be fine, although they do have the 4000 milliampere hour one, which I think is £5. It's probably okay for that. But otherwise, save you £2 and buy something that's slightly better. Thank you for watching. If you like the videos, please click on subscribe. If you don't like the videos, there's a website at powerben.ch where I'll do a write-up of each review, so you don't have to watch the video, and all the important details will be there. Yeah, thank you for watching. Have a nice day.